What usually happens when someone gets a panic attack? What are they?
Okay. So the first part of it is to realize that your body is wired for normal stress response. Okay. So for example, I'm driving my car and I almost get into an accident. My heart rate is going to shoot through the roof. My blood pressure is going to go up. I'm going to feel shaky and sweaty, and I'm going to be hyper focused. I'm going to have this huge arousal. And by arousal, I mean my, physical sensations. My heart is racing. I might breathe a little shallower because I'm trying to get more oxygen. That's energy to deal with this crisis. So the first part is that even those sensations when someone has a panic attack are very uncomfortable, on any given day, you can have all those sensations, but you know why you're having it. Almost in a car accident or somebody, something threatening happens. So the response that you have in a panic attack is normal. It comes from normal stress response. There's danger, there's a threat. My body has a physical reaction, all that stuff we talked about. And then my brain has some ideas about what I should do here and some thoughts around it. So the normal stress response, I want to avoid. I got to get out of here and find a safe place. That's one part of our stress response. Or maybe fight, I'm very activated. I need to do something physical. I need to fight this thing or deal with the situation. Or we freeze because we're trying to protect ourselves. So, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it. This lion tiger thing's going to eat me. And I'm going to bleed to death. So maybe everything shuts down. Emotionally, we get numb. Physically, we might feel like we're a little foggy. All that response is doing is if I am going to face like a physical attack, if I shut down, I bleed less and so on, I'm going to survive the attack. So danger, physical sensations, one of those three responses. Fight, flight, which is avoidance, some sort of action, which could be aggression typically, or I need to shut down, numb it, turn it all off. In panic disorder, what happens is something happens sometimes to trigger it. So you can have different kind of panic attacks. Public speaking. I know folks that come to see me and it's only when they speak in public and they're standing in front of a group, could be a small group or a big group of people that they know. And now they're acting as if they're out there getting attacked by a lion tiger thing. So that's kind of triggered by what we call our social anxiety. We're pack animals. Our brain wants us to get along. So it says, oh, maybe this is threatening. If they don't like you, they're going to kick you out of the pack. You're going to be in the wilderness alone. So that's triggered. Sometimes it's not triggered. Sometimes it comes out of the blue. So I worked with someone once that had been having panic attacks since the age of 14. I met them at like 60. Every night at 3 o'clock in the morning, out of nowhere, they would wake up. Sometimes it does, the way that works is there's some physical sensation we might not even be aware of. And now our brain interprets as, oh, what was that? What was that heart? Just raced a little bit. What's going on there? And now it's going to send off this alarm and it's going to start looking for danger and it's going to feel like we're in danger. And then it creates thoughts, something's wrong. Maybe I'm dying. What's going on? Because we're having that very intense physical reaction. We don't even know why we're having it. So I must be dying because I don't see any danger here. So those are kind of untriggered stress responses. And we have the same physical sensations and the same want to avoid it, want to fight, or maybe I want to shut down because different people have different reactions. So I kind of first explaining that. It's a natural reaction in a normal threat situation. It can occur and can be triggered by something, an argument with someone, speaking in public or something, or it can come out of nowhere, which sometimes is the hardest one for people to understand. I wasn't worrying about anything. The thing is that our body is always scanning to make sure. Is everything okay? The brain is always checking. For example, if I got to go up a flight of stairs, I don't think about raising my blood pressure or my heart rate to get these big legs, just pumping to get me upstairs. I just do it. My brain is noticing, oh my God, they're going upstairs. Okay, more oxygen, more heart rate, and so on. Get to the top of the stairs and it says, okay, well, it's over. Turns everything back off again. So our body's always scanning. Sometimes there's a miscommunication, My person who was sleeping, for example, when we're asleep, we dream all night long. And about 70% of our dreams are actually negative. We think maybe our brain is rehearsing problems. So somewhere in the middle of the night, her brain might have been having a dream where she was running. Maybe she picked up a little, heart accelerate a little bit while she's sleeping. Something was telling her brain, oh, what's happening? Something's wrong now. And she'd pop up in a state of terror. Worse, I don't know what's going on. So there's that piece of it. The third part of that is once we've had a panic attack, because we don't understand that, it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong. It is uncomfortable if we have all those physical sensations that we weren't ready for. Now the very fear of having one makes us be on high alert. Now our brain is looking for danger even more. And that's where it goes from I had one panic attack, I kind of know where it's coming from. I understand I'm not dying. Maybe I took a trip to the hospital because I didn't know what's going on. They told me I'm okay and we're okay. Now it becomes, oh my God, they couldn't find anything, but something must be there because I feel so awful. And now the anticipation is what then might trigger more panic attacks. And then the last piece of that is for some people, not everyone, they develop agoraphobia. And that's part of that avoiding. Remember, we talked about fight, flight, avoid. Agoraphobia may look like, I don't want to leave my house. It's the only place I feel safe. I don't want to drive in my car because I don't feel safe in my car. Or go in an elevator, I feel closed in. We start to want to avoid anything that makes us uncomfortable because we're so afraid it's going to trigger a panic attack. And then that might lead to, I'm not able to work right, or I'm not spending time outdoors or going to dinner with my family. And then that becomes, another threat, right? Oh my God, my wife is mad at me, or I'm taking a long time to get to work because I can't get on the highway or whatever it is. And that adds a layer of stress. So that might, again, make it a little more intense. So as you notice, it's just like winding up and winding up and winding up. The thing is that if we actually pay attention to, and that's where the mindfulness comes into play. If I'm having a panic attack, and it's one of the hardest things for my clients to do, if I'm having a panic attack and I switch into kind of that mindfulness and I'm scanning for, my body, if my brain got confused and thought that I skipped a heartbeat, we skip it all day long, a heartbeat, or there's some uncomfortableness. And that's, if my brain is confused about how much danger there is, and I'm scanning and I'm feeling my body, and guess what? Nothing's biting me. There's nothing here. I don't see. If I'm doing like a visual meditation where I'm looking around using my vision, or I'm doing a sound meditation, listening to sounds, anything that I'm doing that I'm using skills for, taking in information from the environment, sight, sound, hearing, smell, etc., or anything like breathing where I'm noticing sensations in my body, that makes my brain pay attention. And as it's doing that, it's going, there's nothing wrong here. No, there's no cuts. No, there's no actual danger here. The body's actually functioning. Then your brain can turn off that stress response because you gave it information. You gave it data that says, no, I'm sitting in my room. I'm sitting and having a conversation with my friends. There's nothing wrong here. The difference between saying there's nothing wrong here and feeling there's nothing wrong is very important. This is coming again from a primitive part of our brain. The primitive part of your brain does not understand language as well. It understands physical information. Dogs and cats, if they're feeling uncomfortable, they look around and they sniff and they do all these things, right? Kind of mindfulness. They realize they're okay and they go back down and lie down. They heard a noise, they got up, they got excited. Nothing's out there. I touched, I felt. Turn off. We sit there and say, oh no, nothing's happening. And then your brain is imagining something happening. No, I'm not going to die. Imagines you dying. That in a way, the more that we try to think our way out of it by saying, I'm not, or I don't want to feel this way, the brain says, you don't want to what? And it shows you a picture, an image of what that looks like. Oh my God, I don't want to be embarrassed. It shows you a picture of you being laughed at or people freaking out about you. So panic disorder has that part where it's coming from a primitive part of our brain. We got to talk to it in the language it understands, which is body language, physical sensations, and so on. So a lot of the treatments that we have where we use relaxation techniques, for example, help the body to get back to a natural state of being. So my clients will come in and I tell them, pay attention to all these sensations. No, I really don't want to do that. I'm trying to get away from those sensations. So that would be the first part, is realizing that if you've gone and you've been checked out and there's nothing wrong with your heart and so on, and it's probably a panic attack. And if you give it information, you kind of let it happen as opposed to fighting it, your brain's going to be able to calibrate it back. Oh yeah, nothing's wrong. So that would be one part of that. It's not an easy process because we have to convince ourselves to trust our body. We have to convince ourselves to trust that we went to the hospital and they didn't find anything. Therefore, there's some miscommunication, that's what it is. It feels awful. So it's like, it can't possibly be nothing. It feels awful. But if you've ever watched a movie and you're sitting there in your seat and you're watching some horror movie and you're having this huge reaction physically and you're tense and everything else, that movie's not happening either, but you're feeling all that activation. So a panic attack, you may not know what your brain is interpreting, where it got the idea that something's wrong, but it's the exact same thing. It's a impulse in your brain. It's an image in your brain. It's a sensation that it detected that it trying to investigate and protect you from, but it's not really life-threatening. It's not an actual threat at that time. So the other thing is, if I have a normal baseline anxiety, that means some of us are genetically predisposed to anxiety. Anxiety meant that my ancestors, and I'm not talking cavemen, even though we talk about that, but 4 generations back, let's say my family's Jewish, they escaped, my great-grandfather escaped the Holocaust. And then that person who their anxiety helped them to take information and avoid danger passes on their genes. And then it gets to me and I'm no longer experiencing that. But genetically, I'm more aware. Anxiety is there to protect us. It's really not a bad thing to have panic attack or anxiety. So it can be passed on genetically. And then if I grew up in an anxious home where, it's passed down that we have to be careful, we have to be vigilant, look out, don't trust things. We lived in an area where we had a lot of threat. We're also taught by kind of the behaviors of our parents. So it's kind of part of our family, kind of what passes down as far as the way that we view the world as being threatening. So there's that. What did we learn in our environment? What did we learn kind of from our parents who maybe one or both have anxiety? Not just genetically, but now we're learning their behaviors. The third part of this is, what's your culture tell you about anxiety? I'm Cuban. You do not let somebody leave your house without saying, oh, call me when you get there. And we believe that magically is going to protect them. And if I'm not worried about you, my culture says, if I don't worry about you, I don't love you. So now I can't let go of my worry. I can't let go of my anxiety because I have this belief that this magic, it's going to keep everyone I love safe. So you have to kind of explore where those factors that are coming into play. So there's a cultural piece to it, kind of a thinking mind, cognitive piece to it. And then the purely physiological. For people especially who have this anxiety comes out of nowhere. Maybe because of genetics and so on, your body's always scanning a little bit more and doesn't know how to kind of come down to a more relaxed baseline, a more normal baseline. Especially if we've had trauma and so on, that our brain is a little more wired to protect us and have, be ready for fight or flight and so on. So for that, we do different types of relaxation techniques. So that's where mindfulness comes in, or progressive muscle relaxation. Anything that you find relaxing that you're doing purposefully. So that's going to turn off that system and make the baseline. So instead of I start here and now any little thing my brain interprets or something happens, I'm jumping to a panic attack. I'm going to take it from here and start learning to bring myself down as far as, my stress response. Then when something happens, I'm not hitting the ceiling. I might get a little anxiety, but maybe I won't trigger a panic attack. The other thing is if the opposite of a panic attack or a stress response is our relaxation response. If I have a panic attack and I learn through practice with, over time through practice, I learned to relax my heart rate and relax my muscles. That cues my brain, again, sending a message, we're safe, and it'll turn off that panic attack. So it'll help you recover if you do have one. So it helps in kind of those different ways.